All right, how's it going, leaders? This is Ellie, your connections pastor, and this is Fayetteville. All right, so any inclement weather warning, the city shuts down because we have only one snowplow. So, we ended up canceling the leaders' dinner for tonight, but we did not want to leave this time without being able to impart something to you. Okay, so I asked Michael Kine, who's the speaker for tonight, to just give a little chat, a talk on what it is to leave a legacy. So just imagine that you are by the fire with a trusted friend and mentor as he really talks to you and imparts to you what it is for a believer to leave a legacy. All right, and if you don't know Michael Cotton, he's a trusted friend and mentor of Michael Fletcher and Manna Church, has 35 years of experience just really teaching the body of Christ. So my heart and prayer is that you just listen with open ears, an open heart to receive, and that your eyes would be open and your mind would be open to understand. God bless you guys, and we'll see you. God bless.
Well, it's going to snow, they promise. So we've got the meeting for tonight at Manna canceled. But there was a burden we felt from the Holy Spirit for all of you leaders. We love you. We really appreciate what you're doing. And we just felt like that we didn't want this day, this week to go by without giving to you what we felt we'd received from the Holy Spirit for you. So thanks for taking a few minutes out to listen to us when you could be relaxing and maybe making snow cream later on. Who knows? I want to start with Psalm 48, 12 through 14. Walk about Zion, go around her, number her towers, consider well her ramparts, go through her citadels, that you may tell the next generation that this is God, our God, forever and ever. He will guide us forever. We're talking about legacy. And what does it mean to have a legacy? This is really at the core of it. It says, tell the next generation. Legacy is just simply releasing to other people what God has put inside of you and releasing it or giving it to them in such a way that it becomes life to them, not some kind of weird burden, but life to them. Here he says, walk around Zion. Zion's a picture or prophetic Old Testament phrase for Israel and for what we would call the church now. And it says, walk about her and consider well her ramparts. That is, look at God and look at him and see what he's doing. To be amazed at him and to stop and look at the miracles he's doing and has done and be amazed by those things and not just be blasé or cool about it. I remember years ago, Gloria and I had gotten baptized in the Holy Spirit and a little crazy, and we had taken over a Sunday school class in our local church, which church shall remain unnamed. And I had thrown out all the lesson plans that the church denomination was supplying to us, and I was, of course, writing my own stuff. And we were talking about signs and wonders and miracles. And a dear friend of ours raised his hand and said, listen, if I could see just one miracle, I would believe. And I said, well, Gloria. And the day before, Gloria had been in Raleigh at something called Women's Aglow. It was a bunch of women who were spirit-filled who were actually really aglow. And whenever they got together, the Holy Spirit would show up and do wonderful things. And Gloria had gotten curious and had been at this meeting. And a woman came in to receive prayer who didn't have any eyeballs. Now, she wasn't just blind. She didn't have anything to see with. She had been born with no eyeballs. So they brought her in and prayed for her. Of course, Gloria, new to these things, was sort of looking over the shoulders and looking around and seeing what was going on. And they prayed for this woman, and she got eyeballs. Eyeballs came right into her head, and she opened her eyes, and she could see. And then she fell down. It gave her vertigo. She fell down. She got sick on her stomach because of the vertigo, feeling like she was seasick. And so Gloria tells the story the next morning to the Sunday school class. And they all, except for maybe one or two people, there were 30 or 40 young adults. You know the young adults. There were 34 of them, 30 or 40 of them, and they all went, well, that was interesting. What's next? What are we going to do next Sunday? It went right on by them. And this scripture says, listen, when you see God move, you take note of this thing. And don't be cool about it. Don't think, like, well, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Shoot, that's nothing new to me. No, you ought to be going, oh my God, that happened. I was with a brother one day who shall remain nameless, like that old church. He said, as soon as God moves in revival, well, we're going to see great things. I said, well, what's revival? He said, well, a revival is, I said, well, how about if 15 people got saved every single Sunday? He would say, that would be revival. This was 7 or 8, well, maybe 6 years ago. And I said to him, well, that number got saved at Manna last Sunday. Is that revival? And he had the same reaction. Oh, didn't want to listen. And the truth is, I don't know how many got saved last Sunday at Manna. It was over 50. Oh my God! Over 50 people got saved. Consider her ramparts. Look at what God's doing. And be willing to be amazed. Be willing to be uncool and unblasé. Be willing to be stunned and stopped in your tracks by the mighty acts of God. Okay, so that's one. A discipler cannot be blasé. 2, I was reminded of the story of the woman with the issue of blood. It's a little embarrassing, talking about a gynecological problem. She had had this problem for 12 years, bleeding, had been to every doctor, had all of her money gone, not healed, and not only that, but she's living in a society where it was considered a sinful thing for her to be in public when she had a gynecological problem. How about that? So she's on her bed and she hears the news about this new teacher coming through town whose name was Jesus. He was from Nazareth, and apparently people were being healed. So she gets up out of her sick bed, goes out into the street, presses through the crowd, touches the hem of his garment. He knows something's gone on, and he turns around and basically pulls her out of the crowd. You know the story. She was healed, and there are lots of great sermons out of that. But the thing starts with her getting up out of her bed and going somewhere. So this is point number 2. First is you can't be blasé and cool about God. Second, get up and go do something. You ought to have this feeling like there's going to be a meeting. I don't know what's going to happen at that meeting, but I'm not going to miss it. Excuse me. I'm not going to miss whatever's going on. I'm going to get up from what I'm doing and go find something. And I'm going to get in the middle of it. And when I get up and get moving, then God begins to work in me and through me. And I also run into the unexpected. And let me tell you something. With God, you always want to be on the lookout for that unexpected thing. Okay, so don't be blasé or cool, and get up and do something. Now, third, so disciplers, in this second point, disciplers can't be spectators. If you're a spectator, sitting on your bed, sitting on the bench, sitting in the stadium stands, nothing happens. It always happens to somebody else. but not to you. Third point, what God has done in you has a value. This is the biggest burden on my heart for you right now, for everybody I work with, that we would come to see that God has done great things in us, that we would learn to be amazed at the work of the Holy Spirit in our own heart. Have you realized, do you remember when God showed you that you hated sin? You know, that's a work of the Holy Spirit. It's a wonderful thing when you realize, oh my God, I'm sinning, I'm doing this, but I can't stand it anymore. Your heart has a compass point that's driving you toward righteousness. That's the work of the Holy Spirit, because if you can remember when you were of the world and in the world and unsaved, the compass point in your heart was driving you toward death and darkness, but now you're being driven a different way. This is an amazing and wondrous thing. And let me read this to you. This is from D.A. Carson, great writer, and he wrote a book, From the Resurrection to His Second Coming. Do you ever say to a young Christian, do you want to know what Christianity is like? Watch me. If you never do, you are unbiblical. After all, the Apostle Paul can write elsewhere, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. Many things are learned as much by example as by word. Paul understood the point. He therefore grasped that his responsibility was not only to teach the truth, but to live it, precisely for the sake of stamping a new generation, here represented by Timothy. Wow. So here's our challenge. That I'm amazed by God, and I quit being cool, and I quit being a spectator. I'm going to get off the bleachers or the spectator seats. I'm going to go find God. I'm going to go see Him, touch Him, do something. And third, that I'm going to make room in my life for somebody else, and I'm going to get over my reticence, and I'm going to be able to say to that person, listen, if you can't find God anywhere, why don't you come get up next to me? I'll make my life open to you. I'll make myself available to you, and you will see something here. And you're going to leave this relationship forever changed. That's what discipleship is. I was looking the other day at old pictures. I think as you get older, you do that. And at first I saw this picture of me ice fishing up in upstate New York last year, and catching a big fish. And then I saw a picture of me and my dad. I must have been 3 or 4. He had caught a big largemouth bass, and had brought it home, and my brother and I were holding it like trophies, like a trophy. And I realized that when I was up in Canada, that ever since my father died back in 1976, that he had opened his life to me, and I caught the joy of his heart. He loved to fish. He loved to be outside. I caught that joy. And he's been dead all these many years, but there I was on that ice, frozen ice, living out what had been the joy of his heart. Discipleship and legacy means that even after you've gone, if you've opened your life to others, people are going to live out your joy, and you will have a legacy of joy in this world. That's the burden of the Holy Spirit for you and for me today. God bless you.